everybody, my name is Deja and welcome back to my channel. Today I am talking about the romance books at the top of my TBR. So I feel like in the past year I really started to dive a lot more into the romance genre. I kind of dabbled before, but I am like super into it now, but the genre is just so wide that there's too many books for me to read. And so what I've been doing is making lists of the books at the top of that TBR, and then I found that it's really been helping me get through it. Like, I actually made a list to film this video a while ago and I literally got through like half of it. So I was like, oh, I have to make a new list. I feel like making the list really helps me get to the books that I want to read, because I feel like when I don't know what to read, I just am like, no thoughts, head empty, no book titles come to mind. But if I have a list, then I could go there and see what I want to read, and it's really helpful. I asked on my Instagram if you guys would want to see this, and a lot of people said yes, nobody said no, so I decided to sit down and film this video. But before we get into today's video, I'm really excited to talk about today's sponsor, Ana Luisa. This is the first sponsor that I've ever had on this channel, so thank you guys so much for your constant support that allows me to have opportunities with these amazing brands. Ana Luisa is a fine jewelry company that offers a diverse variety of pieces starting at $39, so they're really affordable and also environmentally conscious. They also really focus on the craftsmanship of their pieces, and you can really feel, even though they're more affordable, you can still feel the quality in their pieces and that they're meant to last a lifetime. What I really like about their pieces is that there really is a piece for everybody and every occasion. Whether you want something that is really timeless and classy or something that's trendy, they're gonna have something for everybody. Even their pieces that are more trendy are also still really timeless, and I just love that about their jewelry. And I feel like all of their jewelry pieces, not only are they timeless, but you can throw them on with a really casual outfit and it just adds that little bit of spice, or you could dress it up and wear it with like a fancier outfit. I think that their jewelry just really works for everybody in every situation. And also, one of my other favorite things, as I said, is that they're environmentally conscious and they're actually completely carbon neutral right now, which I love. It makes me just love their brand and their mission so much more, and I just think that's so amazing about Ana Luisa. So I actually got sent 3 pieces of jewelry, and they're all pieces of earrings, which I love. I feel like my hair kind of hides them a little bit, but I still love earrings. So the pair that I'm wearing right now is these little hoops, and they're asymmetrical, which I really like. I really love earrings that are not exactly the same, but they still go together. So on one side there's a little moon and the other side's a star. And I love the moon, the stars, like I love nighttime. I feel like these earrings are very much giving me ACOTAR vibes, you know? And then the next pair of earrings that I got are these little snake earrings, which I adore, because if you guys don't know, I love snakes. I want to get a pet snake, but my mom won't let me, so one day we're dreaming. But I love the symbolism of snakes. I want to get a snake tattoo because I love their symbolism, and I just think that they're so pretty. And this I feel like is a little bit more of a trendy piece, but it's still so timeless and just classy. These earrings are very much giving me 9th house. And then these last pair of earrings I actually got from my mom, and I'm super excited. She really likes them and I've been waiting to film this video to give them to her. But these are just simple braided hoops that are super classy. They fit my mom's style so much. So obviously, as I said, they have pieces that I love, and I still really love these, but like the moon with the star is like up my alley, as well as the snakes. Well, this pair is very much like my mom. I love how I can get a piece for my mom and get a piece for myself, all from the same company. I feel like they're giving me the guest list because it has a wedding, and I feel like these would be super nice for like weddings and events. I feel like you can wear them anytime, but for some reason they're just very much giving me like that kind of classy event. So Ana Luisa is actually having a 20% off summer sale, so if you click my link down in the description box, you will get 20% off your entire purchase. Thank you so much again to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video. Now to talk about romance. So before I really talk about the books, I just want to say a lot of these are darker and more taboo, so if you have any trigger warnings, please look up the triggers for these books. I don't know all of the triggers for all of these books, so I would just recommend doing your own research if you have any triggers. I will link the trigger warning database down below, but because most of these are also indie romances, they're not really on the database, which sucks, but I prefer darker romances as of now, so they are gonna come with trigger warnings, and that's just the area, but I generally like that type of content in my novels. These are also in no particular order, it was just what I found screenshotted in my camera roll and stuff like that. So I have 30 books on this list, but some of them are series or authors, but I have like 30 spots, whether it's a series, a single book, or an author. There's 30 that we're going to talk about, which is a lot, so I'm going to try and do like quick. For me, I feel like with books, I'm more about like buzzwords and people loving it than actual like synopsises. And I will have all the titles down below so you can look up an actual synopsis if you would like, but I'm probably just gonna talk about what I know and why I'm really anticipating reading it. So the first one that I have is the Meaures series by Danielle. The first one is the Sweetest, Oblivion, and I have seen this all over TikTok. I'm on the darker taboo romance side of book talk. It definitely exists, and I'm on it, and this pops up all the time, and I've never heard about this on booktube. I think actually that's a lie. Naima from Naima Reads, she has talked about this book, but that's the only other person I've heard talk about it. But this is a mafia romance series. I believe that they're all standalones in the series, but I do want to read them in order. But I've heard a lot of hype specifically around the second one, but I've heard the first one's also amazing. And so these are just mafia romances, and I don't know why people love them so much. I don't know what it is about it, but I'm here for it, and I want to know. I want to read it so I can find out, you know? And it says that it's a forbidden romance, at least the first one. And I was looking through some of the reviews, and someone put a steamy scene, and I was a little shook. It was a lot. So I'm excited for the series, and the cover's stunning. I love how they look kind of like neon signs. But yeah, TikTok has just intrigued me because it pops up again and again and again and again, and I never really hear about on booktube, so it just intrigued me so much of why everybody talks about it on book talk but nobody talks about it on booktube. Next up is Katee Roberts, the author in general. I have read 2 works by Katee Roberts. I read Your Dad Will Do, and I've also read Desperate Measures, which is the first book in the Wicked Villain series, and I do want to continue on in the Wicked Villain series because I feel like the books are just going to get better and better and better. But then I also am really intrigued by Neon Gods. For some reason I think that it's going to be for me, and when it first came out I was like, okay, yeah, like this looks cool, but everybody always hypes up Katee Roberts, so like I'm not gonna like, I wasn't like super anticipating it. Like I was excited for it, but I wasn't like, I need to read it now. But then I saw someone post a lot of dialogue about it on TikTok, and I was like, okay, well I guess we're abandoning the rest of my TBR and reading that. It just looks so good. Another series of hers that I want to read is Sacrifice is the first book. I don't know the name of the whole series, but Sacrifice is the first one. It's a vampire polyamorous series, and I've heard it's really good, and I really want to read more vampire books right now. I feel like it's because I'm like, when is Halloween? So I'm like, give me the paranormal. So I really think that this series is going to be good. I've heard amazing things. I feel like it's one of her more underrated series, but I've still heard fantastic things about like literally everything Katee Roberts has ever written. So next up is another author, and that's Penelope Douglas. I read 2 books by Penelope Douglas in like the past month. I've read Punk 57, which I really liked. I gave it 4.5 stars, and then I read Bully, which was okay. I wanted more bully from it, especially because it's called Bully. So I gave that one 3.5 stars, and it is her first work, so you could definitely tell. But again, I feel like it was her first work, so everything after that is going to be better. And I have a couple books by her that I obviously really want to read. Obviously, the most popular one that everybody knows is Birthday Girl, which is, I feel like it's like the OG taboo age gap romance, getting with my ex-fiance's dad. Everybody still talks about this book. Everybody still loves this book, and it's been around. Like, she's been talked about on booktube a lot, so like I want to know, why does everybody love this one specifically? Like, I'm really excited to figure that out. And then also I really want to read Credence, because Credence, when it first came out, everybody was like, what is this? What is this? Because it's about our main character whose parents die. She goes to live with her step uncle and his 2 sons, which are like her step cousins, and then she ends up like getting with all of them. I think she ends up with one person in the end, but she has like relations with all of them throughout the book. So everybody was like, this little taboo. Okay, but I've heard good things. I've heard like mediocre things. I haven't really heard too many bad things, just from people who don't like taboo content. And then I also really want to read Corrupt, like that whole series. I feel like it's one of her less popular works. I feel like her standalones are a little bit more popular, but I've heard this series is fantastic. I think I'm really gonna like that series. Like, out of all of her work, I think I'm gonna like that series the most, and I think they're all on my hoopla, so I'm hoping to get to them soon. The next book that I really want to read is The Doctor by Nikki Sloan. Nikki Sloan is like a really popular author, and I do want to read her work in general, but specifically The Doctor has been on my TBR for a long time. So obviously this is a romance about a doctor, but it's also like ex-boyfriend's dad. So I've heard really good things about Nikki Sloan in general. But this one is like the one that I'm like, yes, like I want to try doctor romance. I've only ever read one romance that kind of had like a physical therapist and it was like in a hospital. So I want to like see more what's in that doctor, nurse, hospital romance subsection. The next one that I have is Twisted Love by Anna Huang, and the second book in the series just came out or is coming out. Probably by the time this goes up it might already be out, but I seen this book around a little bit, but not a ton. But then I saw like the author was posting TikToks about the second book coming out, like little snippets, and I was like, excuse me. I think the second one's a bodyguard romance, but the first one also sounds fantastic. I like really want to read both. That's what really intrigued me to even want to read the first one, is I seen it around, it seems cool, but I wasn't like, I need to read this. And then I saw those snippets and I was like, I need to read this, okay? But Twisted Love just seems fantastic. I'm gonna just read this little part. It says, Twisted Love is a brother's best friend, opposite attract romance with a hint of suspense. And it says, this book contains a possessive, morally gray alpha hole. I think that the heroine, her brother like leaves and like he tells his best friend, which is also their neighbor, like, keep an eye out on my sister while I'm gone. And so that's what he does, and stuff ensues, okay? So I'm just saying her writing seems phenomenal. In a full book, it's just gonna be even better. So the next one is Filthy by Serena Ackroyd. I've heard really good things about Serena Ackroyd in general, but this is the first book in her Mafia series, and obviously, if you guys can tell, I love me some Mafia, so that's why I'm most intrigued in this one of all of her work. I just want to test out Serena Ackroyd a little bit, and this one is a Mafia romance. So next up is another author, and that is T.L. Swan. So I have seen stuff about T.L. Swan around for a little bit, and I was intrigued. But if you don't know, I have a book club called The Swoon Sisters that I host with Nicole from Who Picked This Book, and we read romance books. So basically how our book club works is we randomly pick a trope for every month, and then we try and find a book to match with that. So I think we were looking up books for the single parent trope, and The Takeover, which is the second book in the Mile High Club series, kept coming up. And so we were looking at these tropes, and I think we also had age gap, so I think Mr. Masters by T.L. Swan also was popping up for that. We were reading the synopses for these books and they were absolutely hilarious, and you could just tell, even just from the synopsis, that the writing is going to be phenomenal, and it's going to be funny, it's going to be smutty, and it's just going to be a good time. So I'm going to be reading The Takeover soon for my book club, but I also really want to read The Stopover, the first one, and then Mr. Masters. So the next one is Come to Daddy by Brianna Hale. Again, I've heard really good things about Brianna Hale. I know that Tamika from Library of Tomes loves Brianna Hale. I believe it's her favorite author. And this one is a sugar daddy romance, like a sugar daddy, sugar baby type beat, and I'm here for it. Like, I've never read anything like that, and I've never heard of another romance that's like this. I'm pretty sure there's probably some out there, but this is the only one that I've heard of that has a sugar daddy, sugar baby relationship. So like, I want to read it. Like, I'm intrigued for real, because like the sugar baby lifestyle seems like a lot. Like, it seems like it could be good but bad, and so I want to know the goods and the bads, you know? Next, I really want to read the Fallen Men series by Jana Darling. Jana Darling is a booktube favorite, especially this series. This is the second book in that series. I don't own any of the others, but this one is the one that I've heard the most about. Welcome to the Dark Side. I also still really want to read the first one, which is like a student-teacher romance, but I've heard that one's like okay, but this one I've heard is like fantastic, and it has like a motorcycle club, which I know is like really popular, like MC romances, but I've never read any, so I feel like this might be a good place to start. I've also heard a lot about another book that just like has recently come out in the series, but I do want to try and read it in order. But this is like the one that is at the top of my TBR, because I want to read a motorcycle club romance. I've never done it, and I've heard such good things, and it has a lot of age gap. Next up is Kennedy Ryan, which is a really popular author, and I've actually read one short novella by her that was Flow, which is the prequel to the Grip series, and everybody says to read Flow before you read Grip, and I agree, even though I haven't even read Grip, but it really set up everything, and just by that, like, I was like 5 stars. And I never really give short stories 5 stars, but I adored it. Her writing was fantastic. So I'm super excited to continue on in the Grip series, finish that. I also am super intrigued by the Hoop series. I've heard that it's like kind of dark, kind of serious, kind of emotional. But I haven't actually read a basketball romance, and I know the series is not like super basketball heavy, but it seems phenomenal. And I've also seen like mood boards for each like character in the series, like the men and the women in the Hoop series on Book Talk, and I loved it. I was like, this looks so good. Like just the visuals of it like had me. I was like, oh my god. So I'm really excited for that. And then also she has her new book Real out. A lot of her books I just really want to read, but really like the Hoop series, the Grip series, and Real are what are intriguing me at the moment. Next up is Dear Ava by Elsa Madden Mills. I love this cover, and I've heard fantastic things. Like everybody loves this. And if you guys don't know, I love me a good bully high school new adult romance, or at least like enemies to lovers. Like I love that tension of like bullying or enemies to lovers in like a high school or college setting. I literally don't know why, I just do. And this one literally, it says it's a gripping enemies to lovers secret admirer high school romance, which literally sounds like everything I could ever want. And it has fantastic ratings, and everybody that I know that's read this loved it, so like I want to read it. The next book is Flock by Kate Stewart. This one I've never heard of on BookTube, and I've seen it around a little bit on Book Talk, but the first person who actually brought this to my attention was Sarah from Sarah Shelves. I posted about something on my story related to romances, and she was like, please read Flock by Kate Stewart, and I was like, I've never even heard of this book, but I believe it is reverse harem or polyamorous, and that's literally all that I know about it. But when the people come directly to me with requests for me to read things, that like bumps it on my list a ton. Like I really want to read it now. I'm like, what is this about that you were like Deja for you? The next book that I have is With Visions of Red by Trisha Wolfe. I heard about this originally from Bree from In Love and Words. This sounds like everything to me. When I watch recommendations videos, I never just go and like buy a book immediately or try and find it immediately like that, but with this one I did. I know that one of the people is an FBI agent, but I can't remember if one's an FBI agent and the other one's like a serial killer. I think that might be it. I honestly just remember like FBI. Like to me, I was like, this is giving me Criminal Minds plus BDSM like bondage plus like romance in one. This is like my Spencer Reed fan fiction, you know, like this is what I need. Okay, so I'm excited. I'm a little intimidated, but I'm really excited. The next is the Morgan Brothers series by Lauren Rowe. I read the first book, Hero, which I adored. I'm not like a super big insta-love person, but it doesn't necessarily always bother me. But this one I feel like it was done really well. This was the one book that I was talking about, had like the physical therapist and a man like in the hospital type vibes. And basically that's what it is, like a physical therapist and this firefighter who got injured in a fire. Like it's their romance, like his physical therapist trying to help him through this trauma and him. The Hero was super fun, and it was just really a lot of fun. It was smutty, but it also had some deeper, darker, emotional things. The main character is actually a widow because her husband was a police officer and got killed in the line of duty. So she's like, I don't want to date nobody who has like a dangerous job like that, like firefighter. Nope. And so she actually also has kids. And so you get to see like the kids starting to interact with this new man. And I've heard really amazing things about the rest of the series. Hero was actually on my favorites of 2020. Like I loved it a ton. So I've heard nothing but good things about the rest of the series, so I really want to continue on. Next up is Vicious by LJ Shen. Okay, LJ Shen is a very controversial author, but I did read Pretty Reckless by LJ Shen last month, and I really liked it. It wasn't my favorite bully romance because I read like 4 like in the span of like a week, but I enjoyed it. I don't remember the names of the series, but there's like Vicious is the first book in one series, and then Pretty Reckless is the first book in another series, and like Pretty Reckless, that series is the sequel series to Vicious. Like we don't follow the same characters, but like the series with Vicious in it takes place first, and then the Pretty Reckless series takes place second. So I do want to go back and read Vicious, and it's actually one of the Swoon Sister book club picks. So yes, I'm excited. It's a bully new adult high school romance, so like that's why I want to read it. And I feel like LJ Shen was like the person to make new adult bully high school romances like hella popular. LJ Shen has a cult following. We are halfway there. Woo woo. Next is Wolf Gone Wild by Juliet Cross, which I keep hearing about all the time from Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life, and she just makes me want to read this all the time. It is a paranormal romance. That's all I know really, but she talks about this book all of the time. And I know it has witches in it for sure, but I think it has other paranormal creatures in it as well. I think it might have vampires and werewolves. And she talks about this book all of the time. And I'm like, okay, Miss Ma'am, like, I want to know. Like, I only have heard about this book really from her. I'm just super intrigued by why she talks about this book all the time. And I love, again, paranormal romances, and I'm kind of in a paranormal romance mood because I'm like, fall. Halloween, you know? So I'm really excited for this one. Next up is Priest by Sierra Simone. I think actually like the first smutty, like taboo out there romance that I read was by Sierra Simone, and that was A Lesson in Thorns, which is a lot. Okay, it's a lot of, I think I read it maybe 2018, I think when I was 16. Don't count me on that, but I did not expect what I was getting. I read it for like, I think Chandler Ansley's book club. She had a book club and this was the book, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna read it. And I did not expect what I read, but I was like, okay, I liked it, but it scared me a little bit, which is why I didn't touch romance for like a couple years. But this one, Priest, if you couldn't tell, it's a little taboo because it's about a priest. You know, the priest breaks his vows literally on the altar of his church. Okay, sir, out here doing taboo things. So I'm just like, okay, like everybody talks about this book and it's literally like in my cart, like I'm waiting to buy her, but I just am so intrigued by this book. Like, it just seems like so taboo, and I've never read a priest romance, but I think I would like them. Next up is Willow Winters, which is an author. She also goes by W. Winters. And so I wrote down 2 of her books, Merciless and Dirty Dom. I believe at least one of those is Mafia. And I don't really know that much about her books. I haven't really heard about her on BookTube. The only reason that I've heard about her is because she pops up on my book talk all the time. Like, her account, like her TikToks. And she just seems so fun. And like, I've watched some of her live shows too, of like her giving writing advice and like indie publishing advice. And I'm just like, she seems like a cool gal, you know? So I want to read her books. She seems cool. And her books are like dark and taboo, usually. So like, I'm excited. Okay, next up is Born Darkly by Trisha Wolfe. This book is one that has been going around for a couple years. I know that Jess from Peace Love Books really likes this book, but this one is taboo and dark for real. I know, because it is a romance between a criminal psychologist and one of her patients who is a convicted serial killer. It's really, 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 really giving me a Harley Quinn Joker vibes, and I'm loving it because if you guys don't know, I have an obsession with Harley Quinn. It honestly died down for a couple years, but I literally like have like a whole bunch of pop figures up here on my bookcases, and I have 6 different versions of Harley Quinn. And I dressed up for her as Halloween one year, and like I love her. Like, I had a huge crush on her, but then it kind of died down for a couple years because I started getting out of the phase where like I become like obsessed with like characters or actors like that. But like, it's starting to get reignited a little bit again. Like, I'm like, okay, Miss Harley, like, I adore Harley Quinn so much. This, I've heard such good things. It's super dark, nothing I've ever read before. Next up, I have The Deal by Elle Kennedy, and I also want to continue on in her other series that I've started. I read The Chase by Elle Kennedy earlier this year, and I adored it. I did not think I was gonna love it, especially because I feel like it's slightly like a little bit more rom-com-y than I tend to like, but I absolutely adored it. Like, I think I just related to the main character. The writing was super fun, and it had a lot of tropes in it, and it was like at college, and it had hockey players, and I just really adored it. So I want to continue on in that Briar U series. The Briar U series is like, again, like a sequel series almost to the Off-Campus series. All of the books in them can be read as standalones, but they're like an interconnected world. So I do want to read the Off-Campus series, which starts with The Deal, and then also continue on in the Briar U series since I loved The Chase so much. Next, I have Bound by Honor by Cora Riley, which I feel like is like the OG mafia romance. This is like the first mafia romance that I've ever heard of. So to me, it's like the OG one. And I've heard even more amazing things about like her other spin-off series, but like I know that they're all connected in a sense. Like, I think they take place in different areas. The series have to do with like different mafias, like Irish mafia, Italian mafia, stuff like that. Like I feel like they have to do with like different mafias and like they take place in different locations, but they're all interconnected. So I want to try and start from the beginning, even though I've heard this series is not like the best. I just want to read Cora Riley because I feel like she's like the OG mafia, you know? So I feel like it's really like the beginning, and again, this is like the first mafia romance that I ever heard of, so I feel like I have to read it. Next up is Ruthless People by JJ McAvoy, which I heard is super dark. It's another mafia romance. I honestly don't know much about it, but I just know that everybody's like, this one is triggering, like watch out. And for some reason in my head, I'm like that intrigues me more. Like if someone's like, this is triggering, this is dark, watch out, trigger warnings, please look up, please be careful for your own mental health, I'm like, okay, give it to me. I don't know why that's what goes through my brain, but that's why I really want to read this one. I heard it's a lot and I like a lot. So next up is Mariana Zapata, specifically The Wall of Winnipeg and Me is the one that intrigues me the most. From Look Up With Love also sounds okay, but this one is like the one that everybody's heard of the most, and it sounds like the best to me. Like it's gonna be the most up my alley. It's about a football player who has like I think she's like an assistant, and he treats her like trash, so she quits, and then he shows up on her doorstep being like, hey, can you marry me because I'm Canadian and I don't want to get kicked out of the country. So that's what this is about. And obviously everybody knows Mariana Zapata, the queen of slow burn, and everybody's always like, oh, I don't like slow burn, I don't like slow burn, except when Mariana Zapata does it. And I'm not like the biggest fan of slow burn, so like I think I might like Mariana Zapata slow burn because like everybody does. So I want to see if I do too. Next up is Pucked by Helena Hunting. I've been wanting to read this for a hot second, and this is a hockey romance series. For some reason I really like love hockey romances, like they're like my favorites, so I really want to read Pucked. And I heard about this from Bree from In Love and Words, and she really likes the series, so I think that I'll like it because again, I love hockey romances. Next is Colleen Hoover. We knew this was coming. I'm working on this, reading Colleen Hoover soon, but I haven't read a Colleen Hoover ever, and I really want to, because Colleen Hoover I feel like is one of the first romance authors that I've ever heard of. She's super popular for a reason, and I feel like even though like a lot of people that I watch on BookTube don't really talk about her, she's still super popular and all over Book Talk. So I want to know, and I've been wanting to do a reading vlog where I try Colleen Hoover, but I couldn't decide what books I want to read. So I know that I think I'm gonna do Ugly Love, because even though it's older and I wasn't originally gonna do it, I feel like it's a classic. And so I think I'm going to do Ugly Love. I'm going to do Verity, which isn't as much of a romance. And then I think I'm going to do either It Ends With Us or All Your Perfects. I haven't decided, but I think I'm going to go with It Ends With Us. And I know that her books are just emotional, and I want my heart to be ripped out. So Miss Colleen, let's see what you got. Next, I do have this book in a physical copy, but I don't feel like getting it, and that is A Heart of Blood and Ashes by Mila Vane. A lot of people really like this book. Specifically, I heard about it first from Nicole from Who Picked This Book, my co-host for the Swoon Sisters, and she actually bought the book for me off my wish list because I put it on there because of her. But also, again, Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life really liked this book as well. And so this is a fantasy romance. Like when people read this, they're like, this is the best fantasy romance I've ever read, hands down, point blank period. Like Miss Sarah J Maas, forget her. Miss Jennifer L. Armentrout, forget her. This is where it's at. So everybody loves it, and I think I love it too because I'm basic and I like everything that everybody else likes. Next up is another author, Sophie Lark, and I've actually read 2 of her books as of now. I've read The Heir, which is the first book in the Kingmaker series, which is, I know we're not supposed to talk about Harry Potter, but this is like what it felt like to me. It felt like Hogwarts, but make it mafia in a college. The castle, the atmosphere of like being isolated on an island, and it's like a little bit chillier. It just kind of, even though I don't think Hogwarts is like on an island, it just like the atmosphere of like the castle where they were staying was very much like Hogwarts, but mafia edition instead. And I really, really enjoyed it. And then I also read Brutal Prince, which is the first book in the Brutal Birthright series, and I really liked that one as well. That one's more traditional mafia. It's not like a new adult college romance. Like that's why I really was intrigued by The Heir and that whole series, because it is like a new adult college mafia romance, which is like a super unique idea. I've never really heard of anything else like it. And then The Brutal Birthrights was more traditional, but I still really liked it. It was very much enemies to lovers. If you're like, oh, all the books I keep reading are not really enemies to lovers, read Brutal Prince, because that one is enemies to lovers. It's not like kind of dislike to lovers, it's enemies to lovers. And she also has another series, like the Underworld series I think is what it's called, which is another mafia romance series, and I just want to read it all. But I'm really excited to continue on in the Kingmaker series because I keep reading the synopses of them and I'm like, oh my god. So the 2 other books are out and another one's coming out I think later this month, but we still don't even know who the book's about. Like, it doesn't even say in the synopsis, so we don't even know which character it's following, but I'm here for it. I'm really excited for that series and just everything Sophie Lark has written. Another series that I want to continue on with is the Wolfsong series by TJ Klune. I read Wolfsong earlier this year, like a month ago, and I cried my heart out. I absolutely adored it, and I don't know why I was surprised, but because I read The House in the Cerulean Sea last year and it quickly became one of my favorite books of not only the year but of all time. But I thought Wolfsong was going to be so different. They're very different but also weirdly similar, and I adored both of them. I love them both, and I really want to continue on the Wolfsong series because there's 3 more books. It's 4-book series, and I've heard all of them are phenomenal. I haven't heard a bad word about any of the books in the series, so I'm really excited to continue on. TJ Klune can really do no wrong at this point. Like, I think all of his books are just fantastic, and he has another one coming out, like The Whispering Door. I feel like that one's going to be really similar to The House in the Cerulean Sea and like tone and vibes and atmosphere, so I'm really excited for that one. But Wolfsong was just so good. It really gave me Twilight vibes, even though I haven't read Twilight. I've watched the movies, but like the atmosphere of Twilight, but like just werewolves and gay. I was like, okay, like we're here for it. And it was everything. My poor heart was just broken in pieces, scattered on the floor, stomped on, burned, ashes spread everywhere. Like, it was just emotional trauma. Sorry. Next up, I want to read Cole, and this is another mafia romance. I really don't know much about this one, but I heard about it from Tori from A Novel Life because I was trying to look up a whole bunch of mafia romances, and she has a mafia romance recommendations video, and this one popped up, and for some reason this one has really stuck with me. Can't remember why specifically, but this is just another mafia romance that I really want to get to. And finally, we made it to the last book on this list, and that is Love in the Wild by Emma Castle. I love this cover so much. It was really bumped up my TBR because Bree from In Love and Words bought me a physical copy off my wish list. But you can just see this cover is actually stunning. Like, okay, sir. And then there's him and a woman on the back. It's a Tarzan retelling. It's in the wild. And I think this has like the trope where they don't speak like the same language because he like has been living in the wild. He's away from civilization, so he doesn't speak English. So I think it has that same vibes. And I wasn't like a super big fan of Tarzan growing up, but I feel like I would like it more now, and I feel like I would like a retelling of it for real. So I'm really excited for this one. So this video was very, very long, but I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that you found at least one romance that you never heard of before that you would really like to read. I think like I really want to do romance recommendation videos, but I just want to read a little bit more before I start doing those. But I feel like this is a way that I could kind of recommend books to you guys that have a lot of buzzwords associated with them. And some of these are popular, some of them are not. So I feel like there might be some that you never heard of before because a lot of these I did not hear of for a long, long time until very, very recently. So hopefully you found something that you would like to read. But that's all that I have for this video today. And again, make sure to click the link down in my description box to get 20% off your entire order on Anna Luisa's website. But that's all that I have for this video today, and I'll see you guys on my next one. Bye, everybody. Trying to look like you winning. I'm writing rhymes in the kitchen, soaking in moments we live in. Yeah, you got the nerve to be on me, faking your life for the IG.